why Long Beach is the first community college in California to have this program. John Rouge could have picked any community college in the western U.S. He chose Long Beach because of our reputation. So I think it's something that the board should understand and be applauded for. And it's that reputation that we have outside of the walls of this college that we need to continue to nurture.
Very good. Trustee Malauulu.
Yes, thank you, Vice President Long. I would like to echo what Trustee Kellogg said. Good luck. Thank you for applying. Congratulations, especially to the 3 cohort members who are here. And for the others, all 22 of them, I think that the benefit of what you're doing is setting a wonderful example for our students that shows that education is a lifelong journey, that you're never of a certain age, that sometimes you have to make those sacrifices if you want to not only better yourself, but better the community. So I'm very pleased. I look forward to future reports. I would really like to read some of the things that you guys produce down the line. I'm sure that there'll be great ideas coming forth. And share your experiences with your students. If you are in the classroom, if you are in a setting where you're around students, I think that's a great example to show them, look, I'm here, I've got this much education and I'm already an educator and I'm still learning and I'm still going to school. I think that's probably one of the best parts. Thank you.
Okay, do we need a board action?
No.
No. Did you want to talk?
I just
Oh,
wanted,
Trustee Otto.
just very briefly, I'm friends with 3 of the instructors, Byron McClinney, who now lives in Colorado and has been the president of about 20 community colleges throughout the United States in the course of his career, with Terry O'Banion, who was the founder of the League for Innovation, a national organization for community colleges, and it's just a revered member of the community college community in the United States, and George Boggs, who just retired relatively recently as the president of AACC. And each of them has said to me that they're so excited to be affiliated with Long Beach because of the reputation that we have, because of the quality of the students, the programs that we offer here. And so it's a good fit, it's a good honor, and it's a good opportunity for our administrators and faculty to participate in this. And at the risk of being didactic about it, it's one of the things that we've set as a goal for ourselves, and that is to make these kinds of opportunities available as a way of creating a better sense of community in our school. So I'm very excited about this.
One last thing. How I got my job with the foundation was a paper I wrote in one of my cohorts about how the Long Beach City College Foundation could improve. So keep that in mind, you 3, okay? All right, on to 5.1, the 4th quarter report. Vice President Gable?
Yes, so what you have in front of you is the required reporting that we have to submit to the Chancellor's Office, the CCFS 311Q for the 4th quarter. It represents where we ended the fiscal year, even though it says projected 15-16, those are our year-end numbers. I don't have a presentation prepared. We will go into detail at the next board meeting when we're comparing the year-end numbers with the adopted budget on September 13th, but I will open it up to any questions that anyone may have.
We need a motion first.
Do we need a motion and then we'll have discussion?
And
Or do you want to have the questions first?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, make a motion. Okay, Trustee Zia?
So moved. And we need a second.
Second.
Trustee Otto, second. Okay, is there discussion? Call for the question.
Virginia Baxter.
Aye.
Jeff Kellogg.
Aye.
Vivian Malauulu.
Aye.
Doug Otto.
Aye.
And Sunny Zia.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, now we're on to 5.2, approving the Citizens Oversight Committee amended and restated bylaws. In an effort to be transparent, I will tell you that I've spoken today on the phone with Trustee Otto and with Trustee Zia about this topic, so that the rest of the trustees know that. So we have a motion to approve the application and the amended bylaws. May I have a motion?
Motion made. I'll make the motion, but did you want to disclose the content of the discussion that we had for the public, just because it was the majority of the board?
Make the motion first.
Yeah,
I-
I did make the
okay.
motion. Okay, so you're making the motion?
Yes.
Trustee Zia?
Second.
Trustee Kellogg, second. Okay. Yes, the discussion that I had was the number of people on the Oversight Committee and also the application process. Those were the two discussions that I had.
Okay.
Anyone have questions, comments?
Yeah, I have a comment and a suggestion, and that is this. I think we're going at this pretty fast without much of an opportunity to look at what's available out there information-wise. For example, I learned just today that there is a California League of Bond Oversight Committees, and that organization has a lot of information on its website. And I think that, and I also talked to somebody in the community college chancellor's office about this, who's provided me with some information just late this afternoon. What I would like to do is suggest that what we do is appoint an ad hoc committee of this board to look at this issue. And that would be in general about citizen oversight committees, how they're formed, who's on them, how they're selected, how many people should be on them, how long their terms should be. When I saw this as an agenda item, I was concerned because I saw that one of the recommendations was to change the number of years that one could serve from 3 terms to 2 terms. And since at this point, at least, our oversight committees meet only twice a year, that what that would mean is that if you were made a member of the oversight committee, you would go to 4 meetings and then you would be off. I don't have an opinion as to what the right thing to do is, but I don't feel that I have adequate information to move this agenda item forward. It is my understanding that at the last meeting, what we did was solve our timing problem by, in essence, making the Measure E and the Measure LB committee into one, so that's not an issue. So I would recommend, and I'll do it in the form of a substitute motion if you'd like, that we appoint a 2-member ad hoc committee to look at this and bring a report back to the board in 30 days.
Okay, Trustee Otto, is there a second?
Hold on a second. I just want to ask a question.
I don't think,
Well, it's discussion, right?
no, you have to have a second before you can have discussion.
It was
Discussion,
Trustee
okay.
Otto. I think Trustee Otto seconded the motion.
No, he
You-
made the
I made a
motion.
substitute
Okay, but
motion.
Trustee
No,
Kellogg.
you just
has
made a
to say-
substitute motion. The motion on the floor was seconded, and we were in the discussion mode. So I don't think that's been concluded.
Actually, as
I
a
think
point
the,
of order- As a
la-
point of order, I think when there's a substitute motion made, you have to see if it gets a second, and if it doesn't, then we continue with the first discussion. But if it does, then you talk about the substitute motion.
Okay, thank you. And it has
I
a
want to
second.
talk to the initial motion. I just have a question, because this came up last time as far as parliamentary rules, that I think Trustee Kellogg was saying with our bond council, that's illegal for us to have a substitute motion because the motion on the floor is, it's not agendized, having an ad hoc committee. That needs to be agendized. That's what I'm just asking, you know, I certainly have a lot to learn, and I want to ask the question, is that the same argument could apply here? I'm not opposed to it. I think that's I mean, we can have the discussion, but I just want to make sure that we're not violating any kind of, because that's what I tried to do last time, and the question was raised that it's illegal because it's not agendized to have an ad hoc committee. Or my last motion was to, my last substitute motion was to extend the Citizens Oversight Committee to replace 3 people. So equally and similarly here, that item is not on the agenda. We don't have the ad hoc committee on the agenda.
Okay, just-
It looks like Jackie or Eli wants to say.
Superintendent President
Yes.
Oakley.
You cannot change the substance of the action item. In the case at the last board meeting, you were trying to change essentially the action item that was before the board, the substance of the action item. What you're doing here is recommending that you not take action on this board agenda item, but instead appoint an ad hoc committee, which the chair has the prerogative to appoint an ad hoc committee. So you're not taking action on the item that's on the agenda, you're putting it aside, and you will come back with a recommendation at a later date, is essentially what you're doing. So I think you can do that.
Okay, can I just ask one more question? So what would happen if we do that? Does this item get delayed? And then what happens in the meantime for applicants who are interested? And how long is it going to take for us to come back if we're going to have a committee of such to come back with a criteria or how we're going to do this process? I just want to make sure that we're being very open with the public of how we're doing this process if we are going to go ahead and assign a committee, because right now it says October 25th that is going to be the recommendations for the extended individuals, the 2 additional people. So how would that work if somebody can?
First of all, the committee can continue to meet. Matter of fact, they met in August. They're scheduled to meet in August. So they will continue to meet as they are as we work this out. So it would only be adding new people. But, you know, personally, and maybe I'm not allowed to say this, I like the fact that Trustee Otto has investigated that there are groups that can advise citizens oversight committees. And as Mr. Boland has pointed out, this is a great deal of money we're talking about. So.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're all in agreement, and I just wanted to understand the mechanics of how this is going to work, which I would support. I'm not opposed to it.
I will, okay. Can I now, sort of delayed. I will second the substitute motion.
Right.
And I'd like to speak to that motion, if I may. Okay. So the, and in the process and following this is now the substitute motion is the item. The original motion, since it was approving the Citizen Oversight Committee amended, at our last month's meeting, we approved to keep that committee oversight going. This was bringing back some additional language, which I was supportive of. I think that's fine. The substitute motion, which I second and we're now discussing, if the ad hoc committee will be appointed by the chair, I'm assuming it'll be 2 members, well, it has to be 2 members of the board. They can come back with whatever timeline you feel appropriate. If to do that, I'm supportive of the substitute motion in that regard. And just to point for, as we sort of work our way through on governance, whenever the original compared to last month's meeting, this item is essentially, it's the oversight committee. We're having an ad hoc. As Superintendent President Oakley mentioned in our last meeting where we substantially changed that motion when we were appointing new people that had not even been, up until that point in time, their names hadn't even been made public. So that was a very different motion, and that's why, and by chance we had legal counsel here on the oversight committee, and that's why it was an inappropriate motion. I don't know, illegal is the proper term, but so that's the differential here. But so I'm supportive if that's what people want to do on having an oversight committee, and I'll leave it to the chair to determine the timeline and to return back with some issues. The only thing I want to, because I've heard it now a couple times, I want to make sure as you go through this to properly make sure we understand the rules or the role of what the oversight committee members are. I've heard this a couple times now that there's a lot of money involved, and yet make it very clear that committee they are not responsible for the financial. They do have no connection to voters, because we are the ones that are doing that. So I don't want anyone to be misled that this committee is going to determine how things are going to be spent.
That's right.
How things are going to be prioritized. And the only reason I mention that is I've seen that
Thank
happen
you.
in other oversight committees where they come in thinking they're going to take a lot of responsibilities that we are. We're the ones that really are looking at the financial oversight of it. So and I know you weren't intended to make that in any ways, but when I hear it, I don't want people's expectations to think they're going to come in and oversee that huge bond. They have a role, but at the end of the day, it's the elected body that really is the one that controls the purse strings, so to speak. So, but I'm supportive of the substitute motion, and
Okay,
we'll
thank you.
move on from there. Thank
Trustee
you.
Malauulu, do you want to say something before I open it for Trustee Otto?
Thank you. I was actually going to wait for everybody to speak, but I guess he would be a second-time speaker. I agree with the second sub-motion. I'm not really sure parliamentary-wise how legitimate that secondary motion is, but since everybody seems to be okay with it, I do think we're going in the right direction in terms of reanalyzing or maybe just analyzing for the first time the process that we have. I would like to see some changes to the way the Bond Oversight Committee is selected, particularly in terms of regional representation of our district. I would like to see members of that committee represent my district, for example, other parts of the city, Lakewood, Paramount, Signal Hill, other parts of our district, excuse me. And I think that the only way to adequately address that is to have a committee set up that would, in essence, study how the committee members were appointed, selected. I really like the application. I also think that we should be a little bit more fine-tuning when it comes to the purpose and the intent of why somebody would want to serve. At the last meeting, we talked about previous candidates for the Board of Trustees serving on the committee, if that would be some sort of consolation prize, or if that would be an incentive. You know, if you're not actually elected to the board, you know, we would like you to serve on the Oversight Committee. So even though we may have said that in jest, I think that we should take that seriously for people to have the first right of refusal if they choose not to do that. Also, I think that we should study, I agree with what Trustee Kellogg said. The committee is important in terms of looking over some of the decisions that are made, but they actually don't make the decisions. And I think that the public sometimes misunderstands that. And I think that people think that the Bond Oversight Committee, I know people that I've spoken with, think that the Bond Oversight Committee makes those decisions or determines how the money is spent. So if there's a way that we can, you know, improve the perception that the public has on the actual service that the Bond Oversight Committee does, I think that that's why perhaps, you know, an ad hoc committee, as Trustee Otto suggested, might be good. Also, Trustee Otto did mention 30 days. So if you know, I'm okay with that time frame. If 30 days we can come back to the board with a little guidance, that would be good. Thank you for calling on me. I hadn't gotten your attention. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Otto.
Yeah, let me be clear about what my intention is and what I think we can accomplish. We have a Bond Oversight Committee. We're required to have a Bond Oversight Committee by Proposition 39. There are, I believe, 5 seats that are required by Proposition 39 to come from very specific groups, and there is no actual direction as to the number of meetings that need to be had, that we have to have. But not at the last meeting, but at the meeting before that, and I believe it was before that, I just got the sense that that this wasn't well thought out yet. And I saw the agenda item today, and I said, you know, we could look at this. It could bear some reflection by this board if we could have an ad hoc committee to look at what the issues were and to try and make some recommendations, or at least develop our understanding about this so that there could be a discussion. I do not want to delay this. I've satisfied myself before coming to this meeting that there's nothing illegal or delaying in the process that we have to consider bonds. I believe we sold bonds today, and sold LB bonds, and in order to do that, there needs to be a bond oversight committee for Measure LB, and I think that there is one in place. I've satisfied myself of that, and so narrowly what I'm trying to do is to create a committee to meet for 30 days and come back to this board at the second meeting in September with recommendations to take up again what the bond oversight committee will be and how it's done. And I think we can get it done in a relatively quick period of time.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Zia?
Thank you, President Baxter. I just had another question, and it wasn't clear. I do have to say that I want to commend staff. This is a very well-written bylaws, or the revised version. They really took the time to reflect a lot of the discussions we had. So thank you. I'm impressed. And you guys also looked at the conflict of interest issues, the ethics issues. So thank you for doing that. And I don't want to step over your work. My question is, as far as the two measures that we have, is this going to be one body that will be that we're expanding? Because last time we had a little bit of a discussion on, are we having two, or is it the same body that we're expanding? Because the way the bylaws are written as it is, it's implied, or at least it's not expressly stated that it's not going to be two bodies. It's just,
No,
I'm
it's
assuming.
just one.
Okay. And then as far as the purpose goes, am I missing something as far as the duties? They are reviewing expenditures under the definitions component. They're reviewing expenditure reports that is produced by the district to ensure that it's being spent on the respective ballot measure. So their responsibility is to review expenditures as it states in the bylaws. And that's one of the components.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Zia, after we approve this, I think you'll be able to take care of that issue. Okay, I need to restate the motion.
I'm sorry, I'm not following you. What exactly?
And appoint you to the ad hoc committee.
Right. No, I just want to understand, like, for as far as the questions go, or maybe the issue, just to make it clear, these folks are reviewing expenditures. It's not that they're not. That's how it's written here.
Vice President Gable. Oh,
Yeah.
It's okay. Vice President Gable can answer it just as well.
Thank you. Yes, the committee does review expenditures, but they're not reviewing the awarding of the expenditures, the process of how the expenditures are selected, the contractors that we select. They are reviewing the expenditures to make sure that we're spending money on the projects that were listed in the ballot measure. And so that's what their review is to make sure that we're not spending anything on a project that we didn't say we were going to do.
Okay. And then one last question, President Baxter, I apologize if I'm belaboring this point. Is this committee intended to come up with a criteria for selecting the applicants that, let's say we have a pool that all meet the minimum requirements that is within the bond measure? Is it intended to come up with the selection criteria, how we're going to go through those applicants and select from that pool?
I'm going to ask Trustee Otto since he made the motion.
I think that the things that we can look at, we'll look at everything. We can't look at, the bylaws spell out what it is that the Bond Oversight Committee does, and that's all that it can do. Like I said, we have 5 people or 5 groups that we have to draw from, and then we'll consider how many people should be on the committee, how many times the committee should meet, if we want to make a decision about that, and we can talk about whether there should be other criteria. I'm a little nervous about that, only because I think that it tends to, until 2 months ago, people didn't particularly want to be on this committee, and now it seems like it's the hot ticket in town, and I want to make sure that we're able to get people to serve on this committee, and so we don't silo things too much. But that's to be discussed at this committee and to see if we can come up with recommendations.
Okay, because I think it would be fair and equitable if we have some sort of objective baseline. Let's say we have everybody that applies meets the requirements. How are we going to sift and sort through those applicants so that we can look them in the eye and say, this is why you were not selected, if they were to ask us, just so we have an objective process that we're following to the extent possible. I mean, obviously.
I hope nobody ever asks me that.
Oh, I get asked. I get asked by my constituents, like, what's the process? To this day, I mean, people are following this, and as well they should. I don't know how to respond, and this is a great discussion. I think it's a very healthy discussion for us to have to improve our process. And I gotta tell you, maybe no other district does it, but being Long Beach City College, as Superintendent President Oakley was mentioning earlier, we are pioneers in a lot of ways, and we have championed a lot of things, and this is one of the things that we can add to that list of championing.
Okay, Trustee Otto, would you restate your substitute motion?
I would move as a substitute motion that the board chair appoint an ad hoc committee of 2 members of the Board of Trustees to consider any and all issues that have to do with the Board Oversight Committee and report back to the Board of Trustees at the second meeting in September.
Stop.
And that was moved by Trustee Otto and seconded by Trustee Kellogg.
There it is.
Okay, call for the question.
Who are we going through?
We're gonna vote for-
the name of the individuals who are going to be on the
We're going to
committee?
vote for the motion, then I'm going to appoint the committee. Correct? Yeah. Okay, call for the question?
Bear with me, it's kind of typed a little funny and I'll fix it, but
I'm
it
writing
is-
it, I'm writing it in handwriting.
I'll just read what I have too. Substitute motion for Board President Baxter to appoint an ad hoc committee of 2 members of the Board of Trustees to consider any and all issues of the COC committee and report back to this in the second meeting of September.
Yes, correct,
I should say at the second.
correct.
It's-
And all and as Trustee Otto mentioned, there's going to be many things discussed. To Trustee Zia, to your point, it's very legitimate, and how the process, how it will get, and I'll use the example of the ad hoc committee for the consultants. We, as the ad hoc committee for the search committee consultant, will make recommendations to the full board to vote on. And I think that's where you were going with it, on how names were coming. And I think that's an item, as Doug mentioned, that will be discussed, because it's a legitimate, how does that process get vented and then presented to the board to vote? So, I'd be curious what you all come up with, and I look forward to it. And obviously, that's why I'm the supporter of the motion.
Okay. Call for the question.
Virginia Baxter.
Aye.
Jeff Kellogg.
Aye.
Vivian Malauulu.
Aye.
Doug Otto.
Aye.
And Sunny Zia.
Aye.
All right, and then I will appoint Trustee Otto and Trustee Zia to this ad hoc committee.
Thank you, President Baxter.
Okay, yes.
May I make a comment, even though, is it okay for me? We've closed the discussion with the vote. Can I make a comment?
I don't know if we can or not.
Am I okay to make a brief comment? I just wanted to say that when this topic came up, I was initially thinking that it wasn't necessary to have an ad hoc committee. But now, after hearing the discussion, I definitely see the value of it. And I think that the primary reason is because it involves so much of the public's money, and it's their money. And I think that one more committee to just ensure that the process is transparent and thorough, and also fair for the people who want to serve. I think that has convinced me that the ad hoc committee is something that would benefit us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now on to reports. Academic Senate President.
Thank you, Board President Baxter. I just would like to report to the board that a lot of faculty professional development activities have taken place in the last month. Backing up to June, we had a department head academy that we normally have in August, but the faculty felt it would be better served to the department heads if they had that in June, and I think all agree that it did set them up very nicely for the summer. Then just last week, our faculty professional development coordinator, Jerry Florence, had 2 days of new faculty orientation, and a lot of folks came in and out and helped support that effort and helped train the teachers. And I just want to say that in her 3rd year as our faculty professional development coordinator, Jerry Florence has oriented over 100 faculty. So, and when we have 300 and approximately 50 full-time faculty, she's oriented a good 1/3 of the faculty in the last couple years. So it's a big job, and she does it very well, and the new faculty are really appreciative of the efforts.